Hi all. Welcome to my futures trade vlog. Today is March 21st, 2022. Let's go over the trades that I did for the day. Today the overall trade ended up in red and I lost some money. Let's look at some of the mistakes that I done and what can be done to avoid, and some of the psychological things that get in the trading. I'm not yet in a state where I can completely control over and trade immune to my emotions. I'm trying, but these things happen on and off, which I'm trying to control. Let's look at the trades today. So in the morning, the market pumped a bit after it opened, and then it tested the overnight highs. It tried to push higher, it could not, and then it failed. You can see it was a dramatic fall, and there's like bunch of 60 and 70 point candles on Nasdaq, and then it continued to flush. So I was waiting for an opportunity to short this one whenever there is a bounce. So like I usually do, I wait for the 8 CTV and then short at that time, and then add on if it goes to 21 CTV. This has a higher probability for it to continue the flush on the usual days. Let's look at the trades here. As you can see, I took a trade somewhere around this region when it touched, in this candle, when it touched the 8 CTV, and then I added more when it went here, when it touched the 21 CTV. Ideally, I should have stopped here in these two because I can see that this push higher, it hit the 0 ATR, and then ideally what I do is I either add here on the top or wait for this next candle to go lower and then add somewhere in between. But what I did today was went ahead and added one more around this region when this candle was not even closed. So my stop got shorter and shorter because my stop was just around the 1 ATR. So with 3 contracts and market pushing through, it hit my stop loss eventually, and I had to take a considerable loss on this. There is 3 contracts, and overall I think about 118 points on an average. So that is about for 3 contracts 118 points. That's a pretty good chunk of points to lose, and then that's a good amount of money to lose. And then I then did not trade further because the market reversed. Usually I trades whenever it comes down to 8 CDV after it went high. But since I took a pretty good loss and this was again hitting the previous resistance, I was not confident enough to take a trade here, and I wasn't completely wrong. So if you can look at this 396 to 455, so you have to be accurate to capture this bottom for you to scale out on the 50 points. I would not say it is perfect miss. I would have still traded if it was any other day and if it was not a previous high. If this had moved a bit higher and then it tried to reverse, then I would have taken a trade around this region. Ideally, I would have liked for the Nasdaq to go to like 480 or 500, and then if it fails at 500 and comes back to 460 levels, then I would have taken a trade here around this region for it to go higher. But since this failed at the same region where it failed in the morning, I did not consider these trades, and then I waited. Jacob was scheduled to speak this afternoon, so I did not trade through this region when he was speaking. You can see the market did a lot of big candles when he was speaking. As expected, it's a high volatile event. And then you can see the next trade that I took was around here. So this is a good setup. Ideally, I would have liked to take a trade here when it is near the 8 CDV. But then on a flush day like this, sometimes it pushes a bit higher. I was waiting, but then this candle closed, and then you can see that it pushed back and closed on the same region. And usually what happens here is the next candle, I added here, and I expect, usually what happens is, it pushes a bit higher to this region and then, flushes. But then, this time it flushed straight away. But you can see I closed that one for a small profit. This is what, a big loss makes you do psychologically. Even though, it's just a good setup and, there is a good possibility that you might get a winner, I went ahead and closed it because I panicked. That's a common mistake that most people do, and especially on a losing streak day. But if I had held that short position, this would have been a clean winner around this region. And it's a single contract, but it has still compensated somewhat for my loss that I took in the morning. Then the next trade I took was here. You can see when it came back and hit the 8 CDV, and then I think around 21 CDV, I had it here, and then it flushed as expected, but it did not flush enough for me to get the 50 points. I would ideally like to take somewhere here and then or add here, but I did not. But then it went down and then came back to hit my break even. And one of the mistakes that I did was I took the trade again. So what happens sometimes is when I get a break even, the market just comes to my break even and then it goes back down again. But ideally I do that when I am on a 8 CDV trade, not on a 21 CDV trade, because 21 is like a last resistance. So if that gets broken, usually market goes higher. So I generally, if it is a 8 CDV 8 CDV that is breaking out or closing my break evens, then I add more because I can average out at 21 CDV if it gets there, especially on a when the distance between the 8 CDV and 21 CDV is not long enough. But today I did the same thing when I was on 21 CDV, and market was not kind. I added and closed, and then when I started seeing it flush, I wanted a win badly, so I added again. So this is what psychologically market makes you do sometimes. This is very important that you stay and stick to your setups and don't take trades that are not a good setups. On if it was a winner, let's say this morning this was a winner, I most likely would have not taken a trade here. I would have just said no, this is not a setup. The market has been doing U-turns since the morning. You can see here flush, bounce, flush, bounce. So I know at this region I have to be cautious, especially if I did not get a clean flush like I expected, I should not average out again. I still expected 0 ATR to again push, but for the second time in the day, it failed. You can see it failed here, and it again failed here. And I had to take a stop loss on that contract as well. So if you look at it overall, I took about 160, 170 points, almost close to 200 points of loss today. Which is fine, but I'm not worried about the loss that I took here or here. These things don't worry me much. It worries me, but not as much as missing out this or this particular trade. If you look at this one, the one I'm pointing out, this is the one that worries me a lot because I had a perfect entry and I know there is a good probability this might flush, and I did not stick to the trade process. I should have just let the trade do its job. All I had to do was walk away from the system, let the market do its thing, and you have bracket orders. So either it will hit a stop loss or a break even or a profit. You have to be ready to accept that. But I closed out the trade. So this is the one I'm most pissed about. So when I don't trade or when I take a trade and I close before the brackets hit, I can understand if it is, if I'm reducing my target level, when it is nearby and if there is a resistance here, I push the target up. I can understand that. But taking a trade and then closing out immediately because of the fear is something that I want to cut out from my trading. Let's hope, I can do that going forward. It is a pretty red day for me today because of the, market and bad trading. Let's see what rest of the week brings. Okay, if you like this video, subscribe to my channel and give a thumbs up. Um, if you have any questions or any feedbacks, leave a comment. I'll be happy to respond and answer your questions. And whenever I can get time, I can talk about the setups that I do, so that you can test it on your own and implement if you want. Thanks for listening to me. Have a good day. Bye.